Welcome back to Real Estate 101. Today we're going to talk a little bit about flex down payments, and I'm pleased to be joined once again by Tracey Brock of Dominion Lending Centers. Tracey, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Joe. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, Tracey, so what exactly is a flex down payment?
A flex down payment, a lender considers a flex down payment when a client doesn't have money from their own savings.
And what are some examples of flex down payments?
An example of flex down payment would be money borrowed from another source, such as like a line of credit or equity on your existing home if you're going to buy an investment property, gifted down payments, and vendor takebacks.
Okay, and what's a vendor takeback?
A vendor takeback is when the owner of the home that you're purchasing either provides some or the majority, all of the financing for your purchase. Typically, it's just done on a portion of it, usually when there's a shortfall in the mortgage, and it gets registered as a second mortgage.
Okay, so has there been any cases where a vendor or seller has financed the entire mortgage?
There is some cases. I personally haven't seen that, but it's typically in more rural areas where the financing is a little bit more difficult to come by just because of the well and septic and that kind of thing. And there are advantages to doing it that way as well.
Okay, and what are those advantages?
Well, for the buyer, typically the rates and the fees come at a lesser rate than it would be for a private lender or an alternative lender. For the seller, it becomes like a tax write-off for them and advantages in a tax basis.
Okay, so how is the flex down mortgage negotiated?
It's negotiated between the buyer and the seller. The rates, the fees, the term, it's all, they determine between one another, and they all both have independent legal advice.
Okay, so how is a vendor take-back mortgage negotiated?
Well, vendor take-back mortgage, when it's 100% vendor take-back, it's not a flexible down payment mortgage anymore because that's relevant to the lender, not necessarily to the buyer and seller. And they're negotiated strictly between the buyer and the seller, the rate, the term, the amount of the mortgage relevant to the purchase price, and then independent legal advice for both parties.
Okay, Tracey, so can a buyer get a zero down mortgage from a seller on a vendor take-back?
Well, in theory, they are getting a zero down mortgage because if they're getting 100% financing from the buyer, or from the seller, I should say, then that is no cash payment, no down payment, zero down payment. Zero down payments still exist with the lenders, but only on a provincial basis. The federal laws have governed all federal governed banking institutions to not be allowed to use a zero down payment mortgage anymore. However, the credit unions are governed by Ontario laws or provincial laws. So there are still some credit unions out there that will allow or have that cashback zero down payment mortgage available to them.
Okay, so we've talked a little bit about flex down payments. What do people need to be aware of for this type of mortgage?
Well, in specific to a cashback mortgage, like a zero down payment mortgage, what they really have to be aware of is that it comes at a higher interest rate and you have to keep it out for the whole term because in theory that credit union is giving you back 5% down payment towards your home, and if you break that term before the 5 years is up, then you have to pay them back the money that the higher interest rate hasn't compensated for. So if you break it in 3 years, you may owe them an interest penalty of $5,000 and a cashback portion of $10,000. So you just have to be aware that when you purchase a home with a zero down payment, you have to keep it for the whole term.
Okay, so what do people need to be aware of with this type of mortgage, the flex down payments?
Well, with any flex down payment, whether it's done through a vendor takeback or through a lender, gifted funds, the clients have to have AAA credit, no blemishes, no slow payments, good credit history, 2 trade records with 24 months reporting on it. Basically, it's a very high-risk product, so the borrowers have to be in a very good position to go into this type of high-risk product for the lender to approve them.
And can you combine a flex down payment with a cashback mortgage?
You could combine a flex down payment with a cashback mortgage, absolutely. The cashback mortgages now, federally, basically involve using cashback for things like lawyers' fees, closing costs, new furniture. So if you have 5% of your own funds saved, you have 5% as a vendor takeback, and then the lender says, okay, you know what, we'll give you cashback of 3% to cover your closing costs. All of that is possible. It's just like I said, it would be a matter of their credit and how well they manage their money prior to going into the mortgage.
Okay, Tracey, any last words for our viewers on flex down payments?
Sure. Basically, a flex down payment is another option for getting your home sooner than you might think. Renting isn't always a great option. Spend money on somebody else's home. So, get out there, ask the questions, speak to somebody like myself, professional mortgage broker, that can answer your questions for you and let you know what your options are. There are other options Obviously savings is a great way to do it, but sometimes it takes longer than you anticipate.
All right, Tracy, good stuff. Thanks for coming on today's show.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
So there you have it. If you're interested in a flex down payment mortgage, get in contact with Tracey Brock of Dominion Lending Centers. I'm your host, Joe Terceira. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.